Good evening. Biako the Mistwalker here. So we are continuing our set review of Tales of Aria, which releases September the 24th at your local game store. So far, we've done the Elemental Guardian, the Elemental Ranger, and the Elemental Ruin Blade. Links in the description. Next, we are going to talk about the Elemental cards. Now, all of these cards are playable by all of the heroes in this set because they all have the elemental keyword. Do note that some are going to be more useful than others based upon which essence they can use. So the first one is a Fulminate. It is a majestic, only in yellow, cost 2. It is earth and or lightning fusion. If it is fused with an earth card, attacks action cards you control gain +3 attack this turn. And if it's fused with a lightning card, attack action cards you control gain go again this turn. And has go again. So again, this card is most useful in a mixed deck playing earth and lightning cards. In this case, specific case, the deck would be Briar, because both of those are both of Briar specializations. But even if you just use this as a pump, or use this to give all your attacks go again for the turn, could absolutely be fantastic. Again, the problem is, like many of the cards in this set, they are of higher power level because they are a little more difficult to set up. Similar to the way most of the Monarch cards are, with light and shadow and like Bolton, for example. It's a powerful effect if you can get both off. It's still really strong if you can get one or the other off, but planning is where is going to be key. Next up, Flash Freeze, artwork by the wonderful Mark Poole. Another majestic. This is ice and or lightning fused. Only comes in red, costs 1. If it was fused with an ice card, attacks you control gain when this attack. When you attack with this, it gains Dominate unless the defending hero pays 2. And if it's fused with lightning, attacks you control this turn gain. If this hits a hero, deal 3 damage to them. That's insane. Okay. And also has go again. So this card is both ice and or lightning fusion, which means it was designed with Lexi in mind, since that's her specializations. Now, back to fusing for just a moment. If you haven't seen my other videos, to fuse with a card, fusing is an additional cost. So that means you have to announce the card you're playing, pay the resource cost, and then reveal the card for additional costs, in this case fusing. So that means that minimum you're going to need 3 cards to do this, or 4 if you want to fuse with both, although there is a singular card that has both ice and lightning traits. We'll get to them in a minute. Either of these effects are quite strong, particularly the bottom half if you're racing to the finish line. But giving each card dominate unless they pay 2 is also kind of nuts. So here again, these type cards are going to require more setup from you to operate correctly for maximum amount of damage. So note you may not be able to fire both these off every time. This may be, you may have to set it up where you only do one or the other. The last of the Majestics of this particular cycle, Exposed to the Elements. 2 cost, only comes in blue or 3 pitch. Does not have an attack or defense value. Earth and or Ice Fusion. If Exposed to the Elements was fused with Earth, putting -1 defense counter on target equipment. If Exposed to the Element was fused with an Ice card, destroying equipment with 0 defense controlled by target hero unless they pay 2. So there aren't a ton of cards in the game that can outright get rid of armor or other equipment, right? Mangle is one that I think of. And even then, it's just going to shrink the defense. This is the first one that outright just destroys it if it has zero defense, unless they pay the cost. So obviously, from the fusion or from the elements that's listed for fusion, this is obviously a card that was designed mostly for Oldhim, but both these effects are kind of dumb. And notice this is an instant, folks. The other 2 were actions. This is an instant. And talk about messing with your opponent. It's like, oh, I played out my whole hand. Oh, you played out your whole hand and don't have any resources floating. Let me destroy one of those pieces of equipment that already has a 0 defense before you get to use it. I particularly look for this to be a sideboard card, but I could be completely off. All right, so let's move into some of the other cards. So, Entwine Earth comes in 3 flavors. 2 cost. Red is a 6, yellow is a 5, and blue is a 4. All of them have 2 defense. If they have Earth Fusion, and if Entwined Earth was fused, it gains +2 attack. Now, let me go over this. The elemental cards by themselves do not have the earth, ice, or lightning keyword. Meaning you cannot, despite the fact of saying entwine ice, you can't fuse it with this card. Be aware, particularly when you're doing seal deck and draft, that is something you're going to run into. Now, even if you can't fuse it, 2 cost for 6 attack for red is really good, and even the blue that's for 4 is above normal defensive stats that you normally get with a 1 card defense. If you get the Earth Fusion, you can. These are 8, 7, and 6 respectively, so they only make them better. Next up is Entwine Ice. This is a one cost. It has, of course, it has the three color flavors: pitch 1, 2, and 3. Um, all have 2 defense, and the damage is either 5, 4, or 3 based on the color pitch. It has Ice Fusion, and if it was fused, it gains Dominate. So, um, Ice, besides trying to slow down your opponent, is looking to throw a massive attack that you can only block with one card from hand in this set. And even a 1 for 5 or a 1 for 4 with a yellow is really good, even if you cannot fuse it, particularly in sealed and draft. But it only gets better if you can fuse. And Entwine Lightning. So this is a 0 cost, and it comes in all 3 pitch values. 2 defense, 4, 3, and 2 attack. Has Lightning Fusion, and if it was fused, it gains Go again. So this is your typical aggressive, low-costed card that lets you attempt to play multiple cards in turn. Lightning is all about Go again in this set. So excuse me, these elemental attacks are strong, particularly if you have built your deck in such a way you take as much value from the fusion ability of that element as possible. Next up we have Invigorate. So Invigorate also comes in all 3 pitch values, cost 0. The next attack you fuse this turn gains either +4, 3, or 2. So even the blue is nothing to sneeze at. The yellow and the red are insane. It has Go again, and they each block for 2. Again, this is another scenario of really powerful card if you can set it up, because +4, +3 are sizable buffs. The +2 is fine for the blue, but you can kind of see what LSS is aimed for with these cards. Higher power ceiling, less consistent, but it's so much fun to try to put these together and get the numbers right and figure out what works. Alright, next up is Rejuvenate. So Rejuvenate is elemental action. It costs 1. It's all in all 3 pitch values. It blocks for 2. It's either going to gain you 3, 2, or 1 life based on the pitch value. And if it was fused this turn, you may play Rejuvenate as though it were an instant. So again, you get a bonus if you fused. So it gives you a bonus for um, for working hard to get the fuse to set up properly. Alright, lastly, in this section are the 3 tokens we talked about earlier from Briar, from our heroes. So embodiment of Earth, this is what the token says. Non-attack action cards you control have +1 defense while defending. At the beginning of your action phase, you destroy this. The embodiment of lightning is when you play an attack action card, you can destroy it and give the attack go again. And these are set, you can actually get multiple of these tokens in a turn if you can pull it off. Lastly, of course, this is the big one, I would say, is because this is the one trying to slow you down. I am Mr. Freeze. Cards and activated abilities you control cost an additional 1 at the beginning of your end phase, or when you play a card or activated ability, destroy Frostbite. Alright, so that is all of the elemental cards. We will see you in the next video when we talk about each of the specific elements in the cards that actually say ice, lightning, and earth. Until next time, even in Wraith, there is no escape from the tiger.